All right, so I promised I would give you a quick overview, a quick review of our lenses. So I'm going to do that for you today. And for each lens, I'm going to talk about two things. One is what you should look for when you're reading a text through that lens, kind of what you should be asking yourself as you're reading. Those are your observations. And a lot of the answers to those questions are going to be your evidence. And the second thing I'm going to present to you is what ultimately, when you read using that lens, what that lens attempts to say, the question that lens attempts to answer about the text. So the second question should help you create your thesis. The first question really is those observations should be your evidence for um, for your thesis. So we started the year with reader response. Some people loved it, some people hated it. But basically, you know what this is. What do I think about the text? How do I connect to this text? So as you're reading, just be thinking about those things. And it's all about you, the reader. So if you were to analyze using reader response, you would basically answer the question, what is my interpretation of the text? And that would be your thesis. But once again, with reader response, you still have to support it using evidence from the text. You still have to show your reader how you got to that interpretation of the text. From reader response, we move to new criticism, and this one also was fairly familiar to people, but just not by that name. But people still seem to have a little bit of issue with new criticism. So as you're reading using the new critical lens, you want to ask yourself, what do I notice the author doing? What is the author doing in this text? And then what stylistic elements or literary conventions does he or she use in the text? So does the author use short, simple sentences? Is there a lot of dialogue? Is there no dialogue? Is there symbolism? Is there a lot of figurative language? That's what you want to notice, because that helps you get to the ultimate question you want to answer to create a thesis using new criticism, which is, how does the author convey his or her meaning through the text? So how does, maybe if there's an excessive use of symbolism, that helps to get to that ultimate meaning. For example, the author used the symbol of a backpack to reveal that you need to let go of burdens in order to move past and get over something in your life. All right, there's just an example. That's my kid. He's playing right next to me. Are you okay? Yeah, okay. All right. Then we move to psychological lens. And as you're reading using the psychological lens, be asking yourself, how does the character act under pressure? And how the character acts under pressure and how we really act under pressure is really where we show our true colors, like really what motivates us. So the thesis, or to create a thesis, the ultimate question we want to answer is, what is the motivation of the main character? And so how the character acts under pressure, that reveals what motivates that character. Is that character motivated by greed or by jealousy? Is there something, maybe that character's not a reliable character? So that's what you can answer when you talk about psychological criticism. Or alternatively, you could answer the question, what do I learn about the author? Based on the characters and the way the author wrote the characters or the way the author wrote the story, what does that reveal about the author? Gender came next in the year, and a lot of people really like gender because it seems a bit more straightforward, a little easier to find things. So questions to ask when you are reading using the gender lens. What are the roles of men and women in the text? And are stereotypes confirmed or overcome through the text? And the answer to that second question really can help you get to your thesis. So the ultimate question we want to answer, what does this text say about gender? Are they trying to say, that gender roles don't exist? Or are they trying to say, maybe that we need to, maybe that text is setting back women and men, 50 years, or bashing one gender or the other? What ultimately does that text reveal? Right. Social class criticism. Social class criticism is where we look at power. So questions to ask, who has power, who doesn't? And are people able to rise to power or not? And the answer to that question can help you get to a thesis, which ultimately we want to answer. What does this text say about power or the makeup of society? Are they trying to say one way of making up society is better than another? And are people able to experience mobility or not? Are people able to move? So really you want to look at where do the characters end up at the end of the text. Do the rich just get richer? Do the rich become poor and the poor become rich? Do they rise up and take over the higher class, or depose a dictator? What happens at the end? And that really gives you your message about what they're trying to say about social class. And we ended our talk about lenses with historical, and everyone pretty much knows we're looking at historical aspects to the text. So a question to ask as you are reading using the historical lens: how does this text reflect the time period? And ultimately, when we want to create a thesis using the historical lens, we want to answer, what does this text reveal about the time period in which it was written? So is there something enlightening the text tells us about that time period? Do we learn more about the humanity of the time period, or do we learn maybe some terrible things that happened at that time? And we can consider how that maybe warns us for the future or encourages us for the future. So those are all of our lenses, our lens review. A few that work well together. I think you could do a nice reading of reader response and new criticism, where you talk about, here's what the author really meant, but here is what I took from the text. You could do a good combination of gender and social class. When you talk about power, we talk about men and women in power. You could do a good reading using historical and social class. A lot of that, deals with racism, maybe of time periods and who has power in those moments. You could do psychological and gender. You could do historical and social class. Really, all of the lenses work really well together. It just depends on the text, so you need to find really which pair works best for that text, or which pair is going to be the easiest for you to analyze for that text. All right, so little surprise at the end. If you care, some people might not. This is my kid. This is who you heard playing the entire time. Say hi. Hi. So I hope that was helpful for you. Don't stress it too much. You just want to really make sure you understand what each of the lenses are looking for, and tomorrow you'll write your analysis. So look over your notes tonight. I hope this video helped again. Yeah, say good luck. Good luck. Hi.